Hey guys, it's Bree. Last Tuesday, After Atlas by Emma Newman came out, and this is one of the books I've been looking forward to for the better part of the year. I read Planetfall last year and really loved it, and After Atlas takes place in the same universe. It's a kind of companion story to Planetfall, though companion, again, in the sense that it's mostly just taking place in the same world. This is a story that starts 40 years after Atlas has left Earth. This follows a young man named Carlos Moreno. He has run away from home and has really worked hard to become the best in his class and become a detective and kind of the shining star of his workplace. But at the same time, he has, in order to survive on the streets, sold himself into slavery, a working indentured contract, so to speak. And when a particular crime occurs, the death of a man named Alejandro, Carlos has to deal with a lot of his past. And he's, quite honestly, not really ready to do that. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on with this because it's basically told from Carlos's perspective. And Carlos has a lot of problems. Some of these problems are trust-related or related to his indentured status, and a lot of them have to do with this kind of secret about his past that he is guarding. We know right away that Carlos knew Alejandro and that he does not want to be a part of this particular investigation, but we don't really know why. We find out a little bit later that Alejandro knew Carlos in a very, very particular way. He had come in as a kind of rescuer in the days after his mother left. I think there's a lot to be said for this particular story, but first and foremost, I like the tone of it. There's a kind of serious aspect of it while still kind of trying to hit at some of those funnier tones. You can tell when Carlos is taking himself too seriously. You can tell when he's taking something seriously because it actually hurts him. The plot is interesting, and I just kept wanting to solve the mystery for myself. Of course, you were told from Carlos's perspective, but in the sense that Carlos is telling you what he was doing. And so while Carlos knows all of the evidence and all of the context around the evidence, we don't always know that. For instance, we don't know a lot about Carlos's past with Alejandro until later in the story. We don't know how this all works in together with the Atlas mission. We don't know how all of it is working together with the overpopulation of Earth or anything like that. There's just a lot of working parts that we don't necessarily see. And part of me enjoys that Carlos is not always the most reliable narrator, that he's not removed enough from his situation to forgive people for things that they had very little control over, or to acknowledge when he himself did wrong, because that makes him much more real in my perspective. That being said, there were times when I just kind of wanted to hit him. I had to be like, you're being ridiculous about this issue because you're not seeing it and you're not willing to ask for help. When you start getting into the last, I would say probably 100 or 50 pages, that's where I think the story really picks up, because you start finding out a lot of the things that even Carlos doesn't know about. This doesn't have a happy ending, and I really like that. It has a really morally ambiguous ending. And for me, those are always just more interesting. You wind up having to think more about what your characters have done, and Carlos couldn't have chosen wisely either way, I think. Both options were really bad. So the way it ends, I think, is on a really interesting tone. Not necessarily a bright, happy moment, but definitely an interesting, makes you think moment. So I do think that this is another really good book by Emma Newman. I will say I do like Planetfall more, but Planetfall speaks to issues that I feel very personally about, whereas After Atlas does not do quite the same thing for me. Regardless, I think it's definitely worth reading, particularly if you liked Planetfall. A lot of Newman's other stuff is very, I don't want to say popcorn fiction, but it's light. And After Atlas and Planetfall are just both really gut-wrenching, make you think stories. So if you want to see that wide range of hers, I think this is a perfect one. If you have read After Atlas, you should let me know. I requested this from Ace Rock, and they sent it to me quite a while ago, so I've had a bit of time to read and think on it, but I'd really love to get all of your guys' opinions and really have a conversation about it, because these books in particular by Emma Newman, I really, really think lend themselves to that kind of discussion. So, you know the drill. Comment, like, and subscribe. I hope you're having a fantastic reading week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.